Hello, friends. Bill Hobson here from Church Pew Sports, and I have a question for you. What would the NFL draft look like if it only consisted of biblical characters? That's where we're headed today on an unusual episode of Church Pew Sports. After all, we tend to do things a little bit differently here. Now, when we recorded the full episode, the first 25 minutes or so were dedicated to catching everybody up on the current sports news. So we'll skip ahead and we'll pick things up at the start of this biblical character NFL draft and would love to get your feedback on if you agree with the picks or perhaps you'd like to make another suggestion. Just do it in the comments below, and perhaps somewhere down the road we'll have round three of the draft. But for now, it's time for the first ever, and who knows, maybe the last ever, Church Pew Sports NFL Biblical Character Draft. There was a hilarious suggestion on X by somebody named at Not Kenny Rogers. I know nothing about this person. I just know that the suggestion that he posted was, what if the NFL draft was consisting only of biblical characters in the non-deity division? So we're not going to risk crossing the threshold into sacrilege. We're just going to go for the non-deity division, and you can pick anybody you want from the annals of biblical history. And what we're going to do is we're going to put you all on the clock. We're all going to get like a 2-minute window to make our pick, defend our pick, and then the other three can come in and kind of poke holes in the pick. And I don't know if we're going to trade any draft picks, but whenever we do talk about the NFL draft, we would be remiss not to play this moment from draft day.
Yeah, but you want him, Tom, don't you? Seahawk fans want a hero, and you denied him.
Not that bad.
Don't lie to me. I checked all the Seahawk fan blogs and chat rooms. They're all calling for your head. Ever since you traded away Callahan, the barbarians are at the gate.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, you do. You and I both know it. I have the golden ticket now, Tom, and if I give it to you, you get to save Seahawk football in Seattle.
There you go. That's the pressure that's on these kind of draft moments as we turn our attention to the NFL draft of biblical characters. Now, Paul, you were wondering earlier about the prize for winning the Church Pew March Madness bracket. The prize is you get to determine the draft order within this 4-team alignment here. And how would you like to proceed? I've got the 2-minute timer ready to rock and roll here whenever we get going.
I think the first pick should go to my former boss. And then the second pick should go to the Dookie. And then you're up third, Bill, and I'll go fourth.
Okay.
Is that
all right? So Josh Pardee leads us off with the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Biblical Character Draft. You're now on the clock, Josh Pardee.
Well, with the number one overall pick, with this being the podcast of Josh, clearly I'm going to draft Joshua. Starting QB, player comp, I think, in the vein of Jalen Hurts meets Peyton Manning meets a Ray Lewis type character. We're talking elite leadership intangibles. When Josh walks into the huddle, everyone, all eyes are on him. He commands respect. I mean, you want to talk about pedigree. This guy grew up under Moses, his right-hand man. Everything that you're looking for as far as leadership, you can't look for find a better legacy than that. He's used to leading large groups of people through hostile territory. I mean, that's QB1 material right there. Clutch under pressure. You know, if you're in the red zone, it's 4th and goal. This is no problem. This is the same guy who actually told the sun to stand still, and it did. So try topping that in a 2-minute drill. There's really nothing that's going to phase this guy. Strong arm, bigger vision. Doesn't just see the play. He sees the promise, sees everything that's there, really grabs onto it. And also just a locker room guy, you know, just a real glue. Everyone rallies around him. I don't know if you remember, but literally a whole nation said, whatever you commanded us to do, we will obey you just as we fully obeyed Moses, which was a little problematic. We don't need to get into how well they obeyed Moses, but they, locker room glue.
Man,
as for me in my house?
That is a strong pick. And by the way, musician. I mean, on top of it, he's going to bring the jams.
I think what we're talking about here too is really a player coach option as well. I mean, I think we're talking about that level of leadership. So
Does anybody have any holes to poke in Joshua being 1-1 in the 2025 NFL biblical character draft?
I don't think I'm poking holes, but I have some clarifying questions that are based on the fact that I was looking for tape on his career, and the only tape I could find was Joshua the Stonecutter next to Charlton Heston in the Ten Commandments,
Just on TV, yeah.
just on TV. I may or may not have watched that this past weekend, like I do every year.
They tightened it up to a tight 4 hours and 45 minutes for you. So
Yeah, I'm just wondering if everything that was depicted in that movie relating to Joshua was accurate, or if there was some liberties taken with his career for the sake of making him look like the hero.
Oh, I can't really speak to that. It's not really my generation, Paul. We now operate in the world of the chosen. So, and I don't think those guys have gotten to the Old Testament yet. So we're gonna have to wait till we get some better footage. It's a great question, just not one we can provide a lot of data on. But really, just Loctite pick. Not really concerned about it. This is who you want. If you're going number one, you have to take this guy.
did you have him in for a pro day?
Uh, uh, no, just reputation alone.
He's got enough on tape. You don't
Yeah,
need
getting people from ancient Israel over to here is a pretty difficult task, turns out. So.
That's fair. All right, Joshua is our 1-1. Josh Gilmer, by the way, do you have any questions for Josh Pardee about the 1-1?
Well, I was going to say it would have been my pick too. So great pick. That's all I got.
Everybody says that. All right, you're on the clock now. Josh Gilmer for pick number 2 in the 2025 NFL Biblical Character Draft.
All right. So for the second pick, I feel like this is kind of a clear-cut choice, but uh, I got Samson. I was watching his game tape. He reminded me a lot of this guy from Michigan named, actually, he was referenced earlier, Chase Winovich. Had those nice golden locks, but went to the NFL, cut his hair, retired. Terrible. So now that he is able to have learned from the mistakes of Chase Winovich, I have Samson on my team, contingent. He doesn't cut his hair.
Can you actually have a policy like that in this day and age of player freedom and movement like that? I mean, that's a pretty personal mandate. It's like Steinbrenner with the sideburns back in the day. Are you sure you can get away with that?
It's a risk I'm willing to take. We never know what's going to happen, but I've got a good coach. I think he's a pretty persuasive guy. I think we got.
All right. I've got a couple Samson questions, but if anybody else wants to chime in first, you go right ahead. Josh, what do you have?
I mean, it seems like he has some self-destructive tendencies, and he's likely to tell the opponent exactly what the game plan is, which seems problematic. Those would be my concerns with him.
You just wear him down a little bit, and all of a sudden you've got the playbook in your hand.
Right.
What do we do with off the field issues? Paul Miller, what would you do with Samson in the off the field category? Because there are some things we've got to talk about.
Well, I think that's the risk when you spend a high draft pick on a guy who's like it's kind of like Ndamukong Suh or drafting Dennis Rodman or something like that. I just don't know. So I think you're taking a chance, but he does have a really high ceiling, but he also has a very low floor. So I don't know.
I'm from Vegas. I like to gamble.
You can't argue with the strength. We know we've got that. We've got the stamina. We've got the drive for it all. But man, there's you guys had to have, Josh, in your war room, you had to have some spirited discussions about Samson going this high.
They did happen. They did happen. But at the end of the day, like I said, I feel good about it. The donkey bone tape, that was what convinced me. That was all I needed to see.
All right. I can't argue with you. Went for strength. So it's hard to argue with that. Are you putting him at tight end or are you putting him on the line? Where is he slotted?
I think I got him at the DN, just like Chase Winovich.
Okay. Going to put him right outside. Wow. Speed on the edge, strength on the edge. Pretty powerful stuff. All right. I'm on the clock now. Here we go with pick number 3 in 2025 NFL Biblical Character Draft. I cannot believe you guys have overlooked this obvious pick. I'm going to lay out some of his resume directly quoting from scripture. So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight to the tomb. My friends, in the third pick of this draft, am going with John for speed. We need speed on the edge, and this guy is in that 4.240 category, to the point where he wrote about it, to the point where he put his name on it, where he doubled down on it in ways that really weren't necessarily all that necessary to the narrative of what was unfolding. I think probably Peter was like, hey, wait up, dude, we get it. You're fast. Sometimes when you've got that kind of speed, you got to talk about it. You're going to show it off. You're going to put it on display. And much like the burners that have been on the outside over the years, we're going with John to really open things up on the offense. Does anybody have a question or a problem with that pick?
Well, just first, where are you putting him? What position?
He's going out on the end. He's going out wide receiver. He's our burner. He's our JMO, only not really our JMO.
That's right. I understand that pick coming from a Michigan guy. I understand why you would prioritize that. So it makes sense to me. I just hope he doesn't get hurt.
I think the one thing we should consider is emotional volatility. He's a son of thunder. He wants to call down fire and judgment on people. So again, just a character. I mean, I think we're back to this, risk reward character equation that we're constantly in. Could really pay off for you, but also he could disappear as fast as lightning, sort of thing.
Is there a receiver, a good receiver, a burner that hasn't been a bit of a diva, who we haven't been able to fully understand what makes them tick?
Yeah, I mean, and that's where it's, yeah, I think it's a solid pick for sure. It's a high risk, high reward pick.
I'm not going to say we made the pick easily. There was a lot of conversation taking place, but that's our pick, number 3 overall in the draft. Now, Paul Miller, you're on the clock.
Okay, so full confession, I didn't really know what to do with this thing, so I asked ChatGPT to help me out, and I asked ChatGPT.
The Browns do it, I think.
That's how they ended up where they are. I asked ChatGPT, who is the largest human in the Bible? And they did not come back with Goliath. ChatGPT did not come back with Samson. I think it was because they were afraid of them failing tests for banned substances. Instead, they came back with this obscure character, Og, the King of Bashan. And there was this obscure reference from Deuteronomy 3:11. For only Og, the King of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephaim. I'm sure that anyone who's in this conversation right now who went to seminary knows that Rephaim is the Hebrew word for giant, right? And then it said, behold, Deuteronomy 3 says, behold, his bed was a bed of iron. It is in Rabbah of the sons of Ammon. Its length was 9 cubits and its width 4 cubits. And so then I asked ChatGPT, if this is how big your bed was in the Bible, how large of a human are you? And they said anywhere between 9 and 10 feet tall. So I think Og, the King of Bashan, is going to be my 4th overall pick because he would be a special teams animal. Are you going to kick an extra point with that guy lining up over the center? Are you going to even try a field goal? I don't think so. I think he would be good for the projections. I didn't ask ChatGPT this question. I should have. Og would be projected to block 14 field goal attempts and 22 extra point attempts in his rookie year. And so I feel like just for winning that part of the, you got offense, defense, and special teams. We want to win special teams. I'm picking Og, the King of Bashan, the largest human in the Bible, with the 4th overall pick.
You talk about a run stopper. If you could put him in against the tush push, the push is done. I don't know. Anybody, Josh Party, any further knowledge on
Well, additionally, one thing I think you should consider too is, I mean, tip balls. I mean, he could just stand there. So yeah, the tush push. I mean, he's just going to clog up the whole middle. You remember like what was his name? Like Aaron Gilbert or something for the Packers back in the day. Do you remember him? I mean, he'd be like that size, but like 5 feet taller than him. It'd be amazing. I mean, some weaknesses would just be uh, uh um they end up losing to Moses, who was my predecessor. So I'm not trying to make this about how I got my pick right, but I mean, again, we're back to a heritage sort of a thing. And then Giants, they're, I mean, I would be concerned about their durability.
Yeah.
How long can they last? We see the Greg Oden foot problems and back problems and all of these sorts of things. I can only imagine with an NFL schedule, I don't know if he's going to get through a full season even.
Yeah.
So.
One little shot to the forehead, gone.
Yeah.
Done. That
Yeah.
was actually one of my only beefs with Tolkien is that he always made the Giants out to be fragile. But you're probably right.
Wow.
Probably right.
That's quite a first round. Joshua, Samson, John, and then Og, King of Bashan. I never saw that one. That's one of those sleeper picks that all of the scouts around the league look at each other like, how did you miss him? How did you miss him? Well,
And I'm going off the board for that. But
did he play college ball? Or was he is this just a flyer you're taking on a massive human?
this is like drafting an offensive guard from North Dakota State University.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah,
It,
nobody
it
Put
did.
off the board.
It did remind me. Felt very Belichickian of you. Like you found some niche guy that no one's heard of, and he's going to be a stud in your perfect system. That's what that pick reminds me
and
of.
your entire room was counseling you otherwise, and you just went ahead and did it anyways. All right,
Yeah.
time for round two. Josh, you're back on the clock.
All right. I'm gonna go with Daniel. Daniel as a linebacker reminds me a lot of Luke Kuechly meets Dick Butkus meets Troy Polamalu, actually.
Wow, that's a lot of meeting.
Instincts through the roof with this guy. Daniel reads offenses like he reads dreams. I mean, he can literally interpret what these guys are going to try and do. There's not going to be a read option or a reverse or any of these types of fakes aren't going to stand a chance. He's going to snuff that stuff out easily. He's going to be fearless in the middle of the field. This dude stares down lions without flinching. So I don't think he's going to be too worried about some sort of pulling guard or a fullback or anybody coming his way. This will be no problem for him. He lives for contact. Also, I just think discipline. I mean, have you heard of his diet plan? I mean, this guy is regimented, top tier commitment. Also, I mean, he has quite the prayer routine while he's literally in exile, and yet he never misses a rep. I mean, this guy is the definition of committed, disciplined. You want him on your team for sure. And then I think he's just a moral anchor as well for the team. He's not just a hammer. He's also the heartbeat of the team, and so he keeps the defense grounded and focused. And even when things get difficult or feels like you're about to lose or something, he's gonna be like that steady, calm force. So I'm going Daniel with linebacker. I also think, I mean, secret card here is I think he's a player coach too. I mean, I think I could put these guys in. I'm thinking as a Lions fan, we lost both of our coordinators. I'm thinking both of these guys could just step in, be coordinators as well.
His dominance over the Lions has been very well documented.
Yeah, that was also self-defense of picking him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Were you a little bit concerned?
Exactly it.
And does he also exercise that same success over like Bears? And
I thought about going Elisha for that reason, so that
right.
because he calls down the Bears. So that was one of my other thoughts originally.
Wow. Anybody have any questions about the Daniel pick in the 5 slot? Everybody's good? All right, Josh Gilmore, your second pick.
All right, let me think. All right. I think I looked at my draft board, was thinking about Hosea, thinking about Gideon, but I think we've landed on Methuselah. We want the longevity, right? We need somebody that we know will be with us to the end. Somebody that we don't got to worry about him getting injured. Some guy that we know come in, come out, and he'll still be there.
What position are you slotting Methuselah in for? I'm very curious about his skill set besides longevity.
Yeah, I think he could be a good center because he's gonna be around to stick with the quarterbacks we got. You got to worry about the relationship he can build. He's always gonna be there, and so I do got my quarterback pick coming up, but I think he'll be good with him because he'll be around. You can build that bond.
You better throw in your quarterback pick because we're only doing 2 rounds of this. So we'll give you 2A and 2B.
All right, my quarterback pick, I was gonna have Gideon because he can lead a team. So there
So
we go.
Gideon Methuselah combination is what you're relying on as a cornerstone for this franchise.
So we got.
Bill, he's from the generation that, thinks LeBron is the GOAT. So I understand this whole longevity is the most important.
Not me.
That
Not
you
me.
yeah.
I did not see Methuselah coming. I will say that in the scale of surprise picks, it's still behind Og, King of Bashan, but not too far behind. So, all right. Any Josh Pardee, any Methuselah insight you'd like to add for us? Because I'm a little low on my study.
The only thing I can think of with Methuselah is we don't really know much about him other than he's his age. There's not a lot of game film on it. So
Risky pick. It's a risky pick.
yeah, he must have some sort of intuition that is compelling him to make that move. So maybe he doesn't know how important Methuselah is, and it's gonna upset all the fans. Who knows? I don't know.
My second round pick, kind of surprised he's lasted this long. When we had our draft board put up, sure, we had him way up near the top, never dreaming that he would fall to 7 overall. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you, speaking of arms and talent and leading and courage and accuracy, I bring you David. Now, sure, he's got some Johnny Manziel-like tendencies in his history off the field, so we've got some things we've got to work on from a maturity standpoint. But in our interviews with him, he has been very forthcoming. He's been very self-deprecating, but very humble. Often, it seems like almost plaintive in his presentation of his past and of his confidence. It doesn't seem like he's arrogant, even though you might be led to believe that, given the fact that he's brought down the giant with one single throw. The guy has arm, he has accuracy. He's not backing down, even at a time when everybody said, "You don't go out there. Don't go out there. We have no protection for you whatsoever. You're going to end up being, basically like the quarterback in Chicago. You're just going to get sacked 98 times a game. There's nobody to protect." I'm going out. I'm going out. I have the strength. So my pick in round 2, number 7 overall, David. Even with all the off the field issues.
It's a good pick. I mean, solid pick. My one critique is, I mean, he reminds me of the guy who is like a 7-year college running back. You know how they got like all these extra things where it's like, yeah, he's a stud, but he's been through a lot. He has a lot of mileage on him, and I would be concerned of him being able to elevate at the next level due to just the amount of tread that's come off the tires. I mean, you're talking lots of fights, lots of battles,
Yeah.
lots of being in caves, lots of pretending to be a madman. Like I don't know, lots of things there.
He's a survivor. That's what we got out of that. We got a
That's true.
survivor out of that. The guy who's been through it all, put through the ringer, and didn't give in. Yeah, we've got some things to work through, but that's why he's a second round pick, not a first round pick. And what we love is his passion. We love his passion. And we hope that accuracy continues because as far as we can tell on game tape, it's kind of a one-off, but we're counting on good things in the days ahead.
It's kind of like Baker Mayfield.
Well, that's the first I've heard that comparison, but yes. All right, Paul, round out the draft.
I am going to round out the draft. This is like day 3 of the draft when you're completely off the board and you're swinging for the fences. And I don't have a specific player in mind. I am going to say anyone from the tribe of Gad. And the reason that I say this is because I might have asked ChatGPT another question, which is, who were the best athletes in the Bible? And ChatGPT actually told me anyone from the tribe of Gad, based on First Chronicles 12, where it says that some of the Gadites defected to David at his stronghold in the wilderness. They were brave warriors, ready for battle, able to handle the shield and spear. Their faces were the faces of lions, and they were as swift as gazelles in the mountains. So I'm just drafting the best athletes that are available to me here. I don't have a specific name because I was too lazy to try and find the name of someone from that tribe unless I just say Gad. Is Gad a person? I guess if it's his tribe, he's a person. So that's my pick.
Um, Josh Gilmer, of all of the NFL franchises, which would you think most likely to actually get draft pick input from ChatGPT in today's modern NFL?
You said it already, the Browns. It's
Yeah,
got to be the
I
Browns.
so too. I think they asked Chat, should we sign Deshaun to a forever contract and guarantee the
Oh,
whole thing? And it kicked out the yes.
or would the inverse happen though? Like if things start turning around, would we start crediting ChatGTP possibly for
Probably not.
success?
No, because
It's
everybody wants the credit, but nobody wants the blame.
Yeah. It's like it's the pedigree. I'm going for the pedigree. It's like drafting a defensive lineman from Michigan or a linebacker from Georgia or a wide receiver from
Or
Ohio
tight
State
end from Iowa, right?
or tight end from Iowa. Yeah. It is what it
Okay,
is, man.
here it is, our 2025 NFL biblical character draft. First overall, Joshua, then second, Samson, then John. Fourth is Og, King of Bashan. Who didn't see that coming? Second round, Daniel, Methuselah, David, and the tribe of Gad, an entire tribe. He just drafted a program, which is going to set a precedent that I think is going to be very hard to deal with in the years ahead. But there you have it. And we'd love to get your feedback on that draft and how you might draft accordingly. So make sure you connect with us on social media for Church Pew Sports. Meanwhile, let's move on to Holy Discontent.
It's time to blow off some steam. Get it off your chest. Rant about what's most bothering you.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
It's time for Holy Discontent.
Josh Gilmer, lead us off.
All right. So I have no affiliation to the Mavs. Before I knew how much we were going to talk about the Mavs, I did have Nico Harrison's complete just inability to recognize the flaws of his own actions. But to change, I will say Malik Beasley not winning the Sixth Man of the Year to me was my holy discontent.
Yeah. The Piston guard who led the league in three-point shooting, no love whatsoever. He gets about as much love as Cade gets calls, which is zero.
Never.
But I don't want to jump the gun on my holy discontent. Josh Pardee.
All right, my discontent is I saw it's being floated out there, whether it will come to a fruition or not, that they're talking about in the future for college football of having TV ratings impact rankings. And while I mean, first of all, on one level, I find it incredibly obnoxious. Like, who cares who's more popular or who got watched more or whatever? This feels like a way to figure out how Notre Dame should somehow be relevant all the time.
Or
But
Ohio State.
it like what drives me nuts is not only it removes the competition piece of it, but then two, I'm also a realist and realize this has always happened. And it's the part of like sports that bothers me is it's that line that they're always walking of what is competition and what is entertainment, right? And it just feels like we're moving everything more and more to the entertainment side of the equation, and that scares me, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a good point. And now we mix in all the gambling aspects of all of that, and it makes it even more fascinating and potentially corruptible, to say the least. Paul, you're wholly discontent.
I just want to say what could possibly go wrong with using that as a criteria, because
They've already been doing it.
every major program would have their own set of ratings.
Right.
They would be at the top. My holy discontent is that Bill Hobson put us through that exercise of drafting biblical characters. No, I'm kidding. It's not my holy discontent. That was fun. I'm really glad it was only 2 rounds. My holy
We got
discontent,
4 more rounds coming later.
as I work very, very hard to be an NBA playoff basketball fan, and I am watching the NBA more than I have in years this year. I was watching the Clippers the other night, playing, I think it was Denver, and 2 teams that I enjoy watching. But here's my problem. The Clippers have Kawhi Leonard, who is one of my all-time favorite players to watch, just as a fan of basketball, the way he plays and everything else. And they also have James Harden, who next to Jalen Brunson is like the most annoying player ever to watch. So the Clippers just put you as a fan in an immediate moral dilemma. Am I just going to watch and root for Kawhi and just ignore the fact that James Harden's entire game just grates on me? I can't do it. So I'm left to root for the Denver Nuggets and just be frustrated. And it's bothersome to me.
Harden is tough to watch. And
He
he's
is.
almost as tough to watch as my holy discontent, Jalen Brunson.
Oh, there you go.
The Pistons are locked in a first-round battle with the Knicks. As we speak, it's tied 1 game apiece. In game 2, which the Pistons did win, it did not appear as if that was going to be the case because Jalen Brunson was doing things that Harden couldn't dream of doing and drawing calls, especially down the stretch. And as the 6th foul was committed by Detroit's Osar Thompson, and Brunson lay on the court, he held up 6 fingers to mock the fact that he had fouled out the 19-year-old rookie who was guarding him. And what he should have been doing was holding up 3 fingers because that's really all the fouls that Thompson committed the entire night. Meanwhile, my holy discontent is with Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau, who post-game was whining about Brunson not getting enough calls.
Obviously, huge discrepancy in free throws. Huge. So I got to take a look at that. Right. So, I don't understand, how on one side that, you talk about the direct line drives, the guy's getting fouled and it's not being called. Right. So, and look, I really don't give a crap how they call the game as long as it's consistent on both sides. So if Cunningham's driving and there's marginal contact and he's getting to the line, then Jalen deserves to be getting to the line. It's really that simple.
It really is. I would love for them to call it the same way at both ends of the floor. That would be fantastic.
Somewhere I hear David Collins just beside
Yeah.
himself.
Bring him in next time and he'll do 10 minutes on that one again.
Yeah.
Let's go to that guy. And Paul, we'll just have you handle this one for us.
Right now, this minute, today, this week.
All right, so that guy's where we give a shout out to someone who's doing it the right way. And Josh, you alluded a little bit ago to the fact that the NCAA is toying with rules changes and other things. One of the changes coming up this next year is that they've effectively done away, if all of this stuff that's on the table passes, they've effectively done away with walk-ons because they're telling college football programs that they can have 105 players. They don't care if they're all scholarship or if there are some walk-ons in there. And programs in the past were able to, with walk-ons and such, would be able to bump up over that 105 number. Not anymore. So coaches are trying to figure out how they're going to handle that. And that guy is Kenny Dillingham, the coach of Arizona State, where he was asked by a reporter, a press guy, how he's handling that. And I just love his response.
Yeah, obviously we've already informed some of the guys that, they're not going to be in the 105. And that was just because, you don't have to tell them till August. Well, they can't transfer in August. So you're just going to tell a kid in August he can't play football? And then use this a year of eligibility? That's wrong. We can use up to 120. And there's really no limit in camp. But we're not going to do that because I don't think that's right for the kids. I think what's right for the kids is, give them the bad news now. And if they want to go play football, they can go play football. I didn't make those rules. But I was not about to hold those guys here, use them for fall camp, and then get rid of them on August 30th.
How about that? A head coach saying, I'm going to do what's right for the player. I'm going to tell him if he's not making the 105 here at our school so he can hit the portal and go play football somewhere instead of me holding his college career hostage for the sake of just being around for our fall camp. Way to go, Kenny Gillingham. I think that's awesome. Dillingham. I think
it's really rare.
Yeah.
It's all too rare. And so good on him for sure. Either of you guys want to add into that guy? If not, we'll go to the 3-minute message and close things out. Here we go.
Homer, I'd like you to remember Matthew 7:26. The foolish man who built his house on sand.
And you remember Matthew 21:17.
And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there.
Yeah. Think about it.
Think about it. Okay, so this has been really fun to get back in the saddle and talk a little Church Pew Sports, talk NBA playoffs, little NHL, and even the NFL biblical character draft.
Best segment we've done in 3 years.
Best segment ever. I just want to wrap by sharing a verse from John 15 with the NFL draft coming up in 2 days. John 15:16. Jesus says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last." So I want to remind all of us who are listening to this conversation that he chose you. He chose us. He gave us a calling. He gave us a purpose. Let's live into that this week. And if you don't understand fully your purpose, then you know the conversations you should be having with those who know you and know Jesus. That's all I got.
It's good. And what an Easter celebration. I hope that everybody listening was able to take part in your local church, wherever that may be. In our church at Hopevale, it was just marvelous time. And the week prior, we were able to enjoy the blessing of having 46 people baptized. And
wow,
just a celebration over the span of a couple of weeks that continues to resonate really throughout the region. And the Lord is moving in some mighty ways. So let that continue. That would be our prayer, and that we not get in the way of that. Thank you all for listening to Church Pew Sports. Josh and Josh, thank you guys for sticking around with us, for putting in some real homework on your draft picks, as opposed to somebody else who just took the AI route and drafted a village. I'm not sure how that works. We will look forward to connecting with you all next time on Church Pew Sports. Make sure you check us out on churchpewsports.com and on Facebook and X. Thanks, folks. See you next time.